Here's a look at our trades for the week of January the 5th, 2009. I'm going to start off here by looking at a series of market profiles which help us to identify the condition of the market and if any directional bias is indicated. And then we'll look at our 1-minute software to take a look at the actual trades. Starting off here, you can see that the previous week finished off with this tremendous up day. By the way, each one of these profiles is a lettered profile and a volume profile. So this lettered profile and volume profile is for last Friday, the 2nd of January. This is the overnight session, and this profile right over here with its volume profile is what occurred on Monday, January the 5th. And so we had the very strong up movement going into the week, and it consolidated in the overnight session. Still had a bit of an upward bias during this day. You can see that, by the way, this bar right here is the first hour of trading, and you can see that there was actually some trade above that, which was positive. However, the market did have a very modest close in here. So, and also the week started off with relatively light volume, so was certainly not a big bang to the week there after such an up day, which was understandable certainly to a large degree. And so when we go into the next day here, we can see that here is our overnight trading Monday evening, and then this was the trading day for Tuesday. So we had the big up day here, we have the consolidation, we're still having the upward bias, more consolidation but still some upward bias, more consolidation, a slight upward bias here, but you can see on this day, this vertical red and blue line right here, there was no follow through higher, but instead the market came down and dipped a little bit below that. And so that became a critical area for us to examine the market after Tuesday. So our up bias was still intact at the end of Tuesday, but we knew that there was something in the air, in the sense that the market, if this low right here were to get taken out, the market could certainly come all the way back down and quite possibly test towards the low of the big up day that occurred on January the 2nd. So that was a structure within the market profile on a day-to-day analysis that gave us kind of a heads up to really be looking out for something if it should occur. And so what I have done here on this profile is kind of blown it up. Here is that little bit of movement lower. Here's our first hour of trading for the day on Tuesday. And so we knew that this was a critical area, that in order for our up bias to remain, the market would have to stay above that area that I've just identified in blue here, and I'll just put this yellow to kind of highlight it. So we knew that if the market could not hold above it, it would be a bearish indication and could turn our directional bias sentiment from up to down. And as you can see, for most of the overnight session, it traded above that area, but then as the evening wore along and overnight, it did pierce through it, had a good movement substantially below it. And you can see right in here, it gave us another couple of tests here, and then had the really good sell-off just prior to the regular trading hours opening for Wednesday, which is right here. And so you can see by the time the market had opened on Wednesday down here, it was well below our key reference level that turned our directional bias from up to down. And so because of that, we were able to go ahead on the 7th and have a preference for the short side of the market. And you can see here that the market did have a very good sell-off. Let me just back that up a little bit. There we go. You can see that the market did have a good sell-off. Once it had pierced below here, just put those on so you can see the full day of trading now. That was our reference area there, and this is where the market actually closed in the overnight session, and this is where it opened for the regular trading hours on Wednesday the 7th. And as you can see on this day, of course, the market had no trading above that red bar, only trading below it. So that's after the first hour of trading, which was really a confirmation of our analysis that the market had changed its directional bias. So on this day when the market came down with very good selling, It showed an area right here, which was the highest volume traded price in around the 914, 913 area as likely resistance now that we're definitely have changed the directional bias from up to down. And so going into the next day, of course, what we wanted to do was to try and get on the short side of the market. And so looking at the trades for the market profiles here for the next day, you can see here that this is the day that I was just making reference to. So overnight, you can see the market had a good move lower all the way, quite a ways down here. You can see it did test, actually took out the low that was formed back on that Friday, January the 2nd here, and that was all the way down here. So in the overnight session, it had a very strong sell-off. However, in the day session, you can see here, here's the low of that first hour trading and the high, and there was no movement lower. And so it was the first sign of the market consolidating after being in the new directional downward bias. But looking towards the upside, you can see that even though it did have a strong close up in here, it was nowhere near this reference area that the profile shows, which was the high volume that had formed back on the 7th, the day that we just previously looked at. So this area of resistance in around the 9, 13, 14 area, it had not gotten that high, but we knew that now that we're in a downward bias market, that if the market could get up to that reference area, it'd be a nice shorting opportunity. And of course, what ended up by happening on the very next day, actually it was during the overnight session. Here's our overnight session for Friday, and you can see that in that overnight session, the market did jump up after the news that came out at 8:30 in the morning. You can see that that news did come out, and it just hit to our reference area here of likely resistance going into, and with the expectation of the continuation of the down auction, was quickly rejected. And so most of the pricing here that you can see in the overnight session is below that reference area, traded in here. And you can see also that this is where the market opened, that little blue part, where the market opened on Friday morning and continued in that down auction, and actually ended up with a very, very negative close. So our bearish analysis, once this market had taken out this reference area right here, once we were expecting the continuation up, and the market took that out in the overnight session here, from Tuesday going into Wednesday is when our bias changed, and you can see that continued to dominate the auction direction for the rest of the day. We had several trades during the week that you can see on our results page at eminidaytrader.com. On Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we only had 2 trades a day, so that's just how the system actually generated the trades. However, on Tuesday and Wednesday, as you can see on the results, we had 5 and 4 trades on those days with very nice profits. So what you will notice here in our trading at any rate is that we really do try and combine as much as we can what we think the intraday directional bias is, the intraday market condition, and try and match that up with our trade types as best we can. Obviously, we will get trades that are counter trend to what we consider to be the dominant directional bias, so we trade them in a more nimble fashion. But as our traders move along with their understanding of the market condition and how to analyze it and get a good sense of it, some of our traders are entering these trades with that really as the foundation, and able to obtain tremendous trade location. For example, when the market rallied up here in the overnight session on Friday morning, realizing that this was a good resistance area and getting short up in that area, even though it was not during regular trading hours, so we did not have an actual trade type to work from. And so we try and combine the discretionary with the objective trade types. You can trade our objective trade types. We had some, I think it was about 15, 18 trades this past week. You can see on the results page. And so we really try and cater to traders who have some interest in expanding their discretionary capability and their understanding of market development, market distribution, market condition, along with specific trade types. So just to give you an idea of what we were doing this past week in the market. So thanks for taking the time. We'd love to answer any of your questions at eminidaytrader.com.